In reality, a lot of the stuff is just basic. A lot of the things we regurgitate are variations of the same theme. People take one not piece of knowledge and they spin it the way they spin it in their voice, in their manner, and to their audiences so that they get the same message. It's not a bad thing to hear the same message from two different people. It's not a bad thing to hear the same message more or less word for word from two different people. It really reinforces the message as either really, really good advice or more overly simplified advice used to suck people in who are in those states.
Welcome to Mastering Your Message. We believe that you have a message and that people need to hear it. So if you want help getting that message crafted, getting that message battle tested, and getting that message out there, we can help you get it all together. Visit the website podcastguidancefoundhere.com and click the link for Mastering Your Message. Then give us the info we need and we'll set you up with the classes and coaching to help you get that message mastered. My name is Jay Cleveland Payne, and I want to thank you for joining us for the podcast today. I'm not one to name drop because I don't have too many names to drop. I don't know too many very famous people personally. I've met a few handful or so while working directly in radio for doing interviews and taking care of things like that. But I don't know any that I hang out with. And right now, anyone in particular that would be very famous. But I do follow a lot of them because I'm still trying to be one of them. And a lot of them are offering up great information that is great to get. And one of those people is Mel Robbins. Mel Robbins is a person I've been following from way back before she got famous, when she was just writing articles for Success Magazine and had a talk show that I couldn't find anywhere. And then she, of course, wrote the 5-second rule. And then from there, skyrocketed from her TED Talk, where she talked about it just kind of randomly, and skyrocketed to great heights. And right now, dealing with her own COVID-19 issues. She had a top rated talk show, which was all the rage, that basically they shut down production a few weeks before the season was over because COVID-19, they didn't even get to talk about what they're doing for the next season. They just basically ended the show right there. And we've been able to follow her adventures and what she's been doing along the way, and just dealing with things with her family, with her professional life, things like that. But the reason why I'm name dropping her today is because something that literally happened as I was just going through some work in my office and playing some videos on YouTube, just kind of keeping up with the noise. And a newer video from her popped up that talked about how to take care of yourself if you're dealing with anxiety. Essentially the things to do to get yourself out of a funk and go forward. Some of those things were set an alarm and get up when the alarm goes off. Make your bed immediately so that you have the gift of yourself for when you go into the room is not messy, the bed is made, and the gift at night, a nice, comfy, tucked in bed to get into. You need to move around, get some exercise, get some movement, move that blood going, because that's one way that kind of sucks you down when you're losing energy. You have to basically gin up more energy by exercising there. And a very good idea on validation, which is the fact that no one needs to validate you. You are great because you are great. And if anything, you can validate yourself with a high five in the mirror, because that's what she does every day. Now, all those are great. All those are nice to know. All those great advice from Mel Robbins. Like I said, she's doing this in a much more popular and much more professional way, much more productive way than I am, if you will. But it's not the fact that she said all those words, but about 10 minutes later, sifting through some other YouTube videos after that was done, another one popped up into my feed that was just sort of interesting, and I just clicked on it. I couldn't really recognize who it was from, and it didn't look all that professional, if you will, just basically camera going in, someone speaking in a room. So it wasn't a lot of work put into the actual production part, but most of the better videos are people just talking to their phones in the corners because of the knowledge and the content they're giving live and raw. So I clicked on this one, and it was another lady who was with a British accent. So I'm assuming just Britain, just that's generic, me, American, just saying, oh, British accent. But she essentially said every single thing that I just said Mel Robbins said. Set an alarm. Get up when the alarm goes off. Get up and make your bed. Move around, exercise a bit, and validate yourself. Although she didn't do the high five in the mirror, but validate yourself as you make your way through your day, and don't look for other people to validate yourself. What is the point of me bringing up two different people, one person fairly famous, one person probably not, although she apparently had her own following and for enough reason for me to click on her to pop up in my feed. Two people saying literally the exact same thing. The message we're going to get into and answer in the question for today is, does the messenger change the message? Even if the message is more or less exactly the same words, is the person that you hear it come from change the message? And the quick answer is no, it doesn't. But what actually happens is people that you see with more authority, more of a background, more fame, you will listen to them before you listen to other people. In contrast, another thing you'll see is people will often listen to your advice when it's given by someone else because they're from the outside. They're seen as more famous. They're seen as having more background. They're seen as more of an authority than just your casual friends. Now, if you're a person who is often giving out advice and has this happen to you, number one, make sure that you're not just grumbling because you're angry about the advice. Number two, make sure you're actually giving them good advice and you're a person that is trustworthy. But the real issue is, why are they listening to other people and not you? Why do certain bands make it and others who had a similar bent don't make it? Why do certain people doing certain speeches are able to get a message by and others can't? How come your pastor can give a rousing sermon on one of the basic tenets of some verse, pick a line, pick a thought, and you can go with it, and some older person who just has been reading Bible for many, many years can't get the same response from people when teaching that same lesson in more or less the same way and maybe even the same volume? The message doesn't necessarily change. The messenger doesn't change the message. The message changes, the messenger changes the way people around them engage with the message and the messenger. So Mel Robbins sent out her video earlier in the day, and the video picked up steam because people look for Mel Robbins videos. People have been following her for years, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, as she has published the 5-second rule and gotten more of a national stage just by being Mel Robbins. This other person, no real following, no real long-term background. As far as I know, no massive social media success. But just having the success of turning on a camera, saying these words, saying them nice, clearly, concisely, and in a great message, and just happen to say the same words that someone else had said earlier. So because of that, I'd already heard the message, and the power of the message was probably a little less because it was, a repeat message, but it also was a repeat message from someone who had a bigger stage, bigger platform, and someone I admire from a distance as a famous person, as opposed to just getting raw wisdom on the internet. And trust me, plenty of times I've flicked through various people, various thought leaders, various speakers, or just random people who post things online and get something out of it. And I got something out of that one from that young lady. But I'd already heard it literally 10 minutes prior from the famous guru. And I wouldn't call her famous guru, and she probably wouldn't do that. But I already heard it from the famous guru giving that message, and it was great. And then I heard someone else give it to it, and it was okay. The production value, basically the same thing. Mel's just sitting in front of her computer in her office. This lady just sitting in front of her computer or a phone somewhere in the back of a room where it's just sort of there. It wasn't like a big glossy experience, but it was two people delivering the basically same message from two different standpoints. One person more famous than the other. And in certain circles, the less famous person that I perceive that way might be more famous than Mel Robbins, or her friends and family and loved ones would listen to her say that and just assume Mel Robbins is just, taking random stuff to talk about that. In reality, a lot of the stuff is just basic. A lot of the things we regurgitate are variations of the same theme. People take one piece of knowledge and they spin it the way they spin it in their voice, in their manner, and to their audiences so that they get the same message. It's not a bad thing to hear the same message from two different people. It's not a bad thing to hear the same message more or less word for word from two different people. It really reinforces the message as either really, really good advice or more overly simplified advice used to suck people in who are in those states. Now, you can weigh that in any way you want to, but the issue we have here is right now answering the question, does the messenger change the message? Because basically people already saying what you want to say will keep you from trying to say it. If everybody's already chattering about a certain TV show, that may stop you from the idea of trying to start a podcast to talk about that TV show. If someone's already trying to do a project, teaching about the lack of something in a community, and there's someone out there famous who pops up on TV with a new PSA about doing that thing, you may back away from starting your work and talking to people about the same thing because somebody famous has done it or already doing it, or at least seem like they're doing it. The reality is the message can be repeated over and over again in many different voices because repetition is how you learn things. So as you hear the same thing over and over again in different ways, that's when you actually get to take it in and learn it. It's going over your times tables until eventually they become burnt in your brains of how they work out. It's doing your Easter speech over and over again until you get a chance to stand in front of the crowd and give it for all the adoring adults. It's literally repetition. So the fact that you have a message that's very similar, not more or less the same as someone else, doesn't mean your message is any lesser or their message is any greater. It just means you're thinking on the same wavelength as someone else, and someone else that may be a more famous person, more established person, and you're thinking on a good level, assuming that they are on the up and up and using their powers for good, not for evil. It's that simple. So the messaging part of your message, if it sounds more or less exactly like what someone else is saying, the first thing you need to do is actually figure out if you got it from someone else. And chances are you pulled something from someone else, if not the basic thought process, maybe the actual words and some semblance. If that's the case and you hear it, you find yourself hearing it often from places, you might want to just change the words up a little bit, redo the script, because unless it's something that's seriously copyrighted or like lyrics or something or a actual speech that's something someone came from, giving the exact same words isn't necessarily a problem. It just means you took a thought and you ran with it. Think about all the people, if you are in the personal development space, that ran with tribes. Tribes was a idea that wasn't necessarily fresh, but it was giving a new spin by Seth Godin. We wrote a book about it, talking about getting people of like-minded folks to join your tribe and follow your words, do your things. And then, of course, at that point, every single thought leader and personal development guy was talking about finding your tribe and being in the tribe. It's just one of those things that one person comes up with the brilliant idea, which sometimes is just a new spin on an idea, and then everybody basically apes it for years. So don't let the fact that another person is giving out your message, at least something that sounds similar to your message, keep you from doing your own messaging. You might want to change the wording a little bit, make sure that you're not saying the same words, make sure that you didn't just kind of hear in a dream someplace, and then all of a sudden you thought it was something fresh and brand new, and it isn't. And in most cases, like, for example, the both checklists that both Mel Robbins and the other female person on the line gave, they weren't anything earth-shattering or new. They were just given to us by people who were living their lives and came to a realization that this is a grand thing. Chances are they both pulled them from other places. In fact, every single piece is a thought idea from various places, but they may have pulled the order that way it was given from somewhere else, or maybe been inspired by something, and that's fine. The message was received. I received both messages. Just so happened the less famous person gave the same message the famous person gave 10 minutes after I'd already heard it. Still a great idea, still valid points, and still things I had to consider, although the making the bed part doesn't work so well because I'm the first one to get up, and my wife, the person I shared a bed with, is probably be a little upset if I turned on lights and started making the bed at 4 a.m. when she doesn't get up until 6. That would be a problem. But don't let the problem of other people using the same message, same words, same messaging, same sort of aura, if you will, keep you from giving your message and working on your message and doing your project. Don't let the fact that other people are saying things similar keep you from creating your own podcast, creating your own video cast, doing your own blog postings, trying to speak to people in those areas. Chances are, if other people are doing it, that means there's an actual need for it, an actual market for it, that you can actually get some sort of, if not compensation, some sort of just a regular view, some sort of standard way to be out there. There'll be plenty of audiences out there to listen to you because they're looking for similar things from similar people to keep it going because they need it validated as well. So do not fuss, do not worry, do not go overly upset because someone else is saying your words. Make sure that someone else didn't steal your words. You're not stealing their words. You're both not stealing someone else's words. And then just play them up a little bit. Say the same words that you need to say to talk about it. There are plenty of different explainer videos on all the new shows coming out. Every time a new episode of something comes out that's popular, there are probably 5 or 6 of people that you follow with explainer videos going through Easter eggs and all the backdrop story things going on. And that's just the 5 you follow. There's probably 20 other ones out there just in that span point of people. Some are very good, some are not so good, but they're doing it because they have a love and want to say that message. Don't let someone else giving out the same words, trying to produce the same message and getting the same or similar result keep you from starting that project and saying those words. Your words are just as important. That message is obviously pretty important. So it's okay for someone else to give the message. Message doesn't change. It just gets to different people because chances are you'll reach different people than the other people do. And if the same people cross-pollinate, it will reinforce that it's good knowledge because other people are also saying it. And with that, I want to thank you so much for being a part of this episode. Now that I delivered my message today, visit the website, masteryourmessage.net. We're going to help you create, craft, and of course, master your message. There are free materials as well as paid courses and personal coaching services to choose from, but we can't help you get started on your journey to message perfection until you visit us at masteryourmessage.net. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, leave a rating or review, and share it with some friends who are also looking to master their messages.